And good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are around the world. We are here on LinkedIn Live on Passion Fridays with another exceptional human. We promise to bring you exceptional human and stories on Passion Fridays. And so, wherever you are, whether you are watching us live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, you can just drop in the comments where you are and what the temperature is where you are. I'm always fascinated by that. I am north am I am in Northwest Detroit, and the temperature is 79 degrees, which I can appreciate for a good bike ride on a Friday during lunchtime. And I am grateful to be here with Dr. J.R. Sledge. He is the Director of Career Solutions at Perscolas. And we're going to talk a little bit about opportunities in the information technology field. I was sharing a screen a moment ago, Dr. Sledge, that shows just some of the stats um, that I want to share with our audience. Back there. Some job market and salary trend analysis information is also in this report. And here are some of the key findings. There are 12.1 million tech employment jobs, net tech employment in the US. $1.9 trillion, $1.9 trillion is the estimated direct economic output of the tech industry, representing just 10% of the national economy, which is a nice slice. 307,000 number of new jobs added in tech in the past year. The salary in tech occupations are 2 times or double just about the median national wage average. Important for you to note. And something that was fascinating to me, 1.6 million is the number of software and web developer opportunities. And that's the largest and fastest growing category of tech jobs. And so a number of key findings that are there. And I want to welcome Dr. J.R. Sledge. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
It's my honor to have you as you had me a few days ago. Tell us a little bit about that initiative that you had in the mock interviews and a little bit about Perscolas.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon and to uplift Perscolas. And what Perscolas is an IT workforce organization. And what we do is we train adults, those who are new to IT and have that interest. And then we also upskill sitting professional IT persons who want to get additional certifications and additional trainings in the IT space. And so we're new to the city of Detroit, but our organization is about 25 years old. It's based out of New York. Here's an interesting story. One of the things, or one of the ways we came about coming to Detroit was that the mayor was adamant about, and that's Mayor Duggan, was adamant about Detroit being able to train its own IT workforce. And there have been several initiatives that have gone on throughout the city over the past decade, and yet employers were still complaining about not being able to find talent, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had the opportunity to engage in a relationship with our CEO. And long story short, we launched Perscolas Detroit in July of last year. And so as a result of that, we've had 3 cohorts of students, and it's probably about we're at 75 now, IT individuals that we've trained and that we've certified in various programs. And those persons have gone to work in the Detroit area. And with this last cohort, even beyond the Detroit area, as a result of the pandemic, some of them even have remote opportunities. And so we're happy to do this work. It's work that's very significant to the city of Detroit, and it's work that's very significant to the global IT space. One of the things, as you know, being a Detroiter and being a person who grew up in an area, in an urban area, if you will, I'll just be candid, sometimes the opportunities for IT professionals are very limited. And it's twofold. One, because of geography, where we're placed here in the Midwest, because you have them either on the West Coast or the East Coast, 2 extremes. And so to be able to do this work in the Midwest is very, very important. And also to be able to uplift the diversity, the equity, and inclusion in this space around IT is also important for us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to ask you about that, and thank you for the great segue, Dr.
Mhm.
Sledge, because diversity and inclusion in the IT space, in my days of recruiting, I would see not very much diversity and inclusion in the IT space. And so, by this being the Midwest and Detroit in particular, we're trying to build up a tech town, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so, how important is it for employers to kind of rethink? I think I read somewhere where one of your comments or something from Perscolis that says there's talent, in places that you're overlooking.
That's
So, how
right.
do
That's
we
right.
better position ourselves as a talent ecosystem so that we're looking at talent that we might have overlooked traditionally?
Mhm. Very good question. And I think it is important for employers to know. And one of the things that I'm gonna just back up a little bit, that we pride ourselves on is the fact that we help build these relationships with employers to let them know that there is talent hidden in plain sight. And
Mhm,
it's not just bound by geography.
mhm,
But in keeping with that, the employers have I guess, I don't want to say an extra responsibility, but I want to say it should be incumbent upon them to be
mhm,
intentional about the type of talent that they're seeking.
mhm,
And that means that if you really want to have a robust and innovative workforce, then you have to do a little more digging, maybe perhaps, and you
mhm,
have to create additional relationships and bridges with other entities and other organizations where you're able to sift through the talent pool. We
mhm,
have champion partners at Perscolas, one being Tech Systems.
mhm,
And one of the things that's great about Tech Systems is it too is an IT workforce entity. And they have relationships with a consortium of employers where we're able to have that pipeline of talent running through. So it's through those partnerships, it's through those relationships with entities and organizations that are committed to diverse and innovative talent that I think begins the conversation and also begins the work. But by and large, I think the biggest piece is nudging employers. That's what I'm looking for, nudging employers to be intentional about those efforts.
yeah, and I will imagine in that nudge and nudge engine, there's a lot of education that has to be done. And it would seem like you're perfectly situated for that, being such a scholarly gentleman in education with your doctorate degree. How exciting an opportunity is that for you to be able to marry that educational curriculum component that you
Mhm,
might do
mhm,
with instruction to bring us bright stars for the future?
mhm. And that's a great question that you ask. And I think I may be a little more passionate than others in that space because I'm a teacher at heart and I'm a former K-12 teacher and administrator. And one of the things that I do is I seize every opportunity to have a teachable moment. And
Mhm,
what that looks like is not just for the students who or the adult learners who are part of our program in terms of the career development portion, but also with employers. We talk about implicit bias. We talk about unconscious bias. We talk about real life scenarios and situations that individuals confront in the workplace because the workplace culture sometimes is totally foreign or new or unique to an individual who may have experiences in more of an urban environment. And so
mhm,
we talk about what bridging that gap looks like. We talk about mentorship programs on the job. We talk about buddy systems on the job. We talk about accountability systems on the job and what that looks like. And furthering that work beyond just saying, okay, I have some minorities in place or I have some representation here and there and checking it off, but really to be able to be inclusive. Don't just invite them to the party, but somebody has to dance with them. Somebody has to entreat them. And so we do that work as well with employers. And it is a heavy lift, but it's a very meaningful and significant lift, especially as we look at the climate of what we're going through here in the United States. So definitely, yeah.
yeah, and I think it is an important lift, as you say, and a heavy one. But it
Mhm.
also, I think, provokes employers to begin to think about how they're building their talent ecosystem, how
Absolutely.
they are including in their practices ways to glean
Mhm.
opportunities to sit before them the better candidates, and really look at their core competencies and their core values to see how diversity might be included and aligned better, and how they work through those biases, conscious and unconscious, to
Mhm.
kind of redraft or kind of modify some of those core competencies. So I think the work that you're doing is so valuable among employers, because every employer has to take a real look as to whether or not the
Absolutely.
processes are really designed to glean the best talent, and that talent across diversity and inclusiveness. So I really
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I had a list of tech jobs. I know that you'll prepare people for various opportunities, and you do some, looks like some reskilling as well as upskilling. And
Mhm.
so I mentioned that two of the jobs were fast growing jobs. What are some of the fast
Mhm.
growing opportunities that you're preparing students for in your program?
Mhm. So it's twofold. In fact, one has been a resurgence as a result of the pandemic. We had always had a network support curriculum design, and that's a 15-week design for us. And it all of the hardware pieces, all of the internet pieces, and all of the nuances that go along with the infrastructure of
Mhm.
providing support for platforms and for end users. Uh, those individuals can earn a network support certification, and we allow them to do that through CompTIA, which we pay for. And
Mhm.
CompTIA, and I saw your slide earlier, is an international certification accreditation system. And
Mhm.
so once they earn that credential, they can work anywhere.
Mhm.
And CompTIA will certify them in A plus certification as well as Network plus certification.
Mhm.
And so that's one opportunity that is really taken on. In fact, we're launching two additional cohorts this year as a result of individuals wanting to have the network certification. So that's a plus. And then also, we have run and we will continue to run Java developers and Java developers, both front end and full stack. And what that allows them to do, as you know, is all of the nuances and the interfaces with the apps that we see and the avatars that we see as we go through this digital space. And here's the irony, Marcus. I'm not a techie. I'm really an end user, and I
Mhm.
kind of fumble around.
Mhm.
But I'm blessed to be situated with individuals who are real techies and who are real geeks and who are excited about this type of stuff. And so they're building platforms, they're building web pages, they're creating apps and going through and debugging apps and unpacking them and reinstalling them and all those sorts of things. And so it's a great opportunity. So those are two very fast growing fields. And in terms of, and I know people always want to know, well, how much money can I make as a result of this program? And here is fundamentally, one of the main reasons why I love the work that I do is because we're tuition free.
Mhm.
That's one. And then persons who come to us, we're able to provide an opportunity for them to really have a substantive income and reap the economic benefits. For example, an individual who comes to us without a college degree is able to come through our Java program. And most Java jobs range in the area of making $60,000 a year and up. And so that's phenomenal when you think about someone who could go through 14 weeks of training, not necessarily have an undergraduate degree, just a high school diploma, get the training, get the certification, and then reap a 60,000 K, harvest. I think it's wonderful. And
Mhm.
you can have a family and can sustain yourself on that type of an income. We've seen individuals come into the network support program, and I don't have in front of me now. I have to go into Salesforce to see the median income range, but I can tell you that those incomes and salaries double. So it's really a great opportunity. Mm,
Sounds like a very great opportunity.
yeah.
And while they're going through the program, are there tools and resources that they have uh, access to that would help them brand themselves,
Mhm,
rebrand themselves? Talk
mhm.
to us a little bit about that.
One of the things that we do in terms of the tools they need for the course, we provide all of that. And a lot of students think it's kind of like too good to be true. And I have to admit, when I embarked upon this endeavor, I was like, hmm. But as I started doing the work, I realized I could have saved thousands of dollars in terms of having student loans if I had this opportunity presented to me early on. So that's one thing
Yeah.
in terms of resources and tools. With respect to branding, our students who leave Java as a part of the curriculum, they have to have a GitHub with certain projects on there that they market and they promote through LinkedIn, which is a part of our career development, career solutions curriculum. And that's
Mhm.
the curriculum that I oversee. And one of the things that we have students do, we actually have two strands that deal with branding, that deal with your professional profile, if you will. And so, as a respect of that, they have to actually create a sales pitch that's usually like 30 to 60 minutes, their elevator pitch, if you will. They
Mhm.
have to make sure they have a technical resume that has the professional summary and so forth. Each student is required to have a LinkedIn profile and to begin to build that LinkedIn network. Let me think of another branding aspect. I mentioned the GitHub, and there are a few other pieces that are at the forefront of my mind now that students have to do in terms of completion of the branding aspect.
Okay. You named two jobs. So the Java developer, did I get that right? Java developer
Yes, 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 yes.
and the network support. Are there other positions that your programs prepare individuals for?
Yes, and so here's the thing. I'll go back to network just for a second. If they get the certifications in our network program, they're able to work as network engineers. They're able to work as in-desk user supporter. They're able to work as network administrators. So the job titles vary.
Mhm.
It's the nucleus of it is, of course, the training and the certification, and then from that core you see all of these offshoots in terms of opportunities and in terms of titles. For example, persons in Java, they may end up as a developer. They could also end up as a term we're all familiar with, the software engineer, software architect. All of those positions are more from the core competencies that are built in the curriculum for Java. So yeah. So
Got
the
it.
so when you see a list of maybe 15 different IT titles and so forth, it's that core training. It's from that all of these other opportunities morph.
Got it. Thank you so much for the
Mhm,
clarity.
mhm.
Um, we talked a little bit about the heavy lift of work of educating employers and really taking First Golis on the road here, at least locally, since it's
Yes.
about a year old. Happy anniversary. What are some of the barriers to entry in this field or other barriers that maybe employers should begin to rethink about their talent strategies? So it'll be you're creating a talent ecosystem, a talent
Mhm,
pipeline, and so
mhm,
that pipeline is seamless opportunities into Metro Detroit and the region area.
mhm.
What can we do to relieve any of the barriers to entry?
So one of the things that I think has to be done when you talk about being intentional in this space, and when you talk about having a footprint in Detroit, one of the things that has to be done is the understanding that work looks differently. And I think for all of the bad that has happened as a result of the pandemic, I think that's a good piece that came out of it,
Mhm.
and that is that the flexibility in the job space and what that looks like in terms of the employee's commitment to be in the office from 9 to 5 every day, if you will, without the flexibility. We have a lot of females who are single parents, and the whole notion of being able to go through training and what that looks like juxtaposed with child care and the ambition of wanting to go to work is a huge barrier for them. And
Mhm.
so, one of the things that we talk to employers about is being flexible by design with respect to realistic expectations of
Mhm.
individuals to be able to do their work, but to do
Mhm.
their work differently. And so,
Mhm.
because we're in this remote space, I think that kind of helps us now, and I think it's like crystallizing for a lot of employers that, well, I really don't really need you sitting here all day to get this work done. You can be
Mhm.
efficient and you can be effective by various modes and means and not necessarily on site. So that's a big barrier that I think And even once we return to a sense of normalcy or new normalcy, if you will, I think keeping that before employers, that the work day, the work design may look differently, is a huge piece that will be helpful. I think also in this Detroit space, getting individuals to know that, again, there is talent hidden here in plain sight. And so when you talk about some of the third party relationships that our large employers have with IT that's outsourced by third parties across the country, to begin to rethink that and see what the value add is to have people who are able to work within the region and work within satisfying the company and the organization, and those who there's an automatic dividend for an employer when they have someone who's, for lack of a better term, homegrown or locally based. And it also helps our local economy here in the Detroit area. And we're constantly in a position to to close our gaps as it relates to the economic structures that we have in the city of Detroit. So it's a win-win for everyone across the board. And I think the more work that we do with the Chamber of Commerce, the more work that we do with those other bold, broad, talent and employer-based organizations in our region, I think that we'll see a change.
For that. What does success look like for Perscolas in this market? I'm sure you have measures or benchmarks that you're trying to achieve. What does that look like?
So I'm going to answer that twofold. One, I'll tell you what success looks like for me immediately in my role, and that's with the talent that we have, and that's placement. That's job placement. I'm blessed that the first cohort prior to graduation, I think we had 21 students in that cohort, and prior to graduation, all of those students had received jobs and were working. And so
Wow.
that's with 16 weeks of training. So that's a 90 some odd percent stat. When I look at the Java cohort and look at the stats in that cohort and the number of students who were placed and working within 30 days after completion, it was something in the 80%. And so that's a huge, huge accomplishment for us. So placement is the overall benchmark that I
Mhm.
look for with respect to the talent that comes in the door. The
Mhm.
other piece that I think is realized more so with respect to KPIs and so forth from an organizational standpoint is the fact that the retention of individuals who come in. We don't have people who start. We don't start a class with 40 and end up with 21. And so the retention for persons who enter the program is also in the 90th percentile. And so I think that's really great. And it's commendable and it's a testimony to the types of individuals who really want to do this work and who are committed and who have that grit. And so that's what success looks like for me. And as far as the organization is concerned, and I guess personally, even outside of my role, I think it looks like this whole notion of transforming lives and creating opportunities in the IT space. So when I have someone who's a recent graduate from high school, who did a year at college and was uncertain and unsure, and they come through our doors and they know they like technology or they know they like gaming, and they come through our doors and they meet those requisites and they get into the cohort and get to the point of graduation and become a new person with respect to the thinking is new. The opportunities are new. The efficacy kind of shoots up. And so when those things happen, I personally deem that as a successful benchmark, just the overall change, that happens with individuals. Yeah.
And those are some impressive metrics. Congratulations on great success. That's great success. So
Thank you.
you
Appreciate
have
it.
a high retention level. You have people that are being placed in positions at a high percentile. That's excellent. So
Yes.
congratulations on those
Thank you.
exceptional metrics.
Thank
And I would imagine it is very rewarding to know that you have transformative power,
you.
especially being an African American male in our community, that there are others within the community that you are pulling up and ushering them into a new aspect of their lives. So, congratulations on that. That's great.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
wondering if you have partnerships with organizations where they reveal to you their 5 year workforce plan, and then you're able to build into that some progress or a project to help them meet their IT needs. Do you have partnerships like that? Because I think that would be a great opportunity if we can help you find employers and partners who say, hey, this is what our metrics, our data looks like on a 5 year trajectory. And we're going to have people that are going to move out of our system, right? Be it retirement or be it a separation that's going to move them on to their next best thing. And we're going to need to build in place so that people with the right skills will be ready for our future.
Mhm.
Do you have those kind of partnerships?
So the short answer to that is yes. Um,
Wonderful.
our house is set up in that we have what's called a customized training design, and then we also have a market-driven training design. And so I referenced earlier about tech systems. Tech systems is a part of our customized design. And so what we do is we customize our curriculum for specific employer needs on the customized side. And on the market driven side, we look at the market analysis and the data, we look at the job opportunities locally, and we train students for those opportunities. For example, in the current cohort that's running, it's a market design. So it's locally based. It's around the needs of what employers are looking for in the Detroit space. And one of the things that they've talked about is in-desk user support. And so this design that we're doing in market is geared directly towards that. On the customized design, there's a piece that talks about the three components of network support that a specific employer, and I can't share the employer, but that a specific employer wants, and that we're going to train and fold that into our curriculum. So we're easily able to pivot with respect to the customized design that's been tried and true. We have another customized client in the healthcare. And so one of the pieces on the career side that we're restructuring to align to their needs is this whole notion about cultural competency. And so what that looks like is how do the support persons in the organization relate to different cultures and communicate with different cultures around their healthcare needs and so forth. And so that's a piece of the work. So the short answer is yes. And we do, in fact, our vice president of externships and relationships actually meets with individual employers and sets up that customized design. And so we're happy to say that we have two customized partners, training partners here in the Detroit area. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so, how do employers join this effort? I mean, it would seem to me that they would be beating down the door to join the effort if they have a need for either market driven customer programs or
Yes.
customized programs for them. How do they join the effort?
All right. So that's a great question because there are many methods to doing that. But one, I'll do a plug overall with respect to the organizational website, which is perscolas.org. And Perscolas is not a common name. It's one word, PERSCHOLAS.org. And there's a link there for all of the information if someone wants to link up in terms of an employer and wanting to get routed directly to that division. In addition to that, also it's the same website if someone is interested in our training program. So I do want to make that opportunity as well. And then they can connect with me or anyone that's a part of Piscolas Detroit, and we'll begin those conversations and then move them through the process. And so you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on the web, perscolas.org. My LinkedIn handle is JR Sledge. Yes, no, yeah, it's at JR Sledge on LinkedIn. And so you can find me there or any of my colleagues who are on the ground floor doing this work. Part of my work also includes employer and partnership engagement. And so that's a piece that I work as well as the career solutions piece.
Okay. and how can individuals get involved that may just be a part of an organization, but maybe not the decision maker in the organization? Are there ways they can donate, or how do they get involved?
Well, definitely, we do have a philanthropic arm because we're a nonprofit, and so we do have that, and we have the annual and the routinely giving opportunities that can also be found on the website. And then what we did this year that you were a part of is we actually worked to recruit virtual volunteers. So individuals who may be in the IT space or maybe in the talent acquisition space who want to support our learners as they go through the program. There are opportunities for them to volunteer to actually host or participate in the behavior mock interviews, the IT mock interviews, and then on September 2nd, we're going to do a virtual showcase where we're going to actually invite employers who have opportunities in the area of IT, and we're going to actually showcase our talent. And so they'll get it's just kind of like a reverse job fair. So they'll get a chance to actually see our talent. They'll get a chance to review their credentials prior to and actually come in and meet them and have conversations with them and ultimately hopefully hire them for positions that they have. So those are things that we're currently doing now in this remote space. So there's room, there's space, and there's opportunity for everyone who wants to be a supporter and who wants to join in this work. So yeah.
Yeah, I had a great time, and again, I thank you for that invitation. I got to meet an outstanding young man. Tell us a little bit more about how did you build the behavioral based interview process? Um, Tell us a little bit about it.
Again, it is a part of the Career Solutions curriculum. And what we typically do is we interview students, we put them through two series of interviews prior to sending them out with major employers. And one interview is behavioral, and the other one is the technical interview where all of those pieces about technology come out as a result of their training that they have to expound upon. And in the behavior interviews, what they have to do is to be able to go through a situational analysis, a series of situational questions where we measure their responses to those questions. We give them feedback. We give them opportunities to have do-overs, if you will, if those things don't work well, because we really want students to be able to go out, and I keep saying students, but they are adult learners, but we want the talent to be able to go out and to be able to land jobs. And so we're very intensive with respect to that, in that we believe that the only way to really get a foothold in the industry is to be prepared. And so not just prepared in terms of IT, but also the relationship piece. You have to know how to navigate through that space with your colleagues, that space with customers with whom you may support, and just that whole experience as it relates to your thinking and your behaviors on a professional front. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking as you're answering of people in our ecosystem who might be great partners with you to further validate your behavioral based interviewing technique, to include some folks that are IT hiring managers in those questions so that
Yes.
you further develop them. A number of different things are just coming to mind. So that's
Good.
exciting.
Good. Well,
Uh,
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Share. Please
Yeah,
share.
I firmly believe that if we want it, we're going to have to build it. And if we
That's right.
build it, people will come to it and take advantage of it and build themselves. So
That's
the,
right.
the temple really that we're building are individual temples, right?
That's
And
right.
so we
That's
got to
right.
make a firm investment in doing that. So I'm a firm believer in that. And that's why I'm just excited about the work that you're doing. I think
Appreciate
it can have a phenomenal impact in our area and for Scolas all over. But, I'm a Detroiter, so I got
it.
to say in our area
That's right.
that it can make a great, firm impact. So I believe a graduation is coming up. And so tell us a little bit about that. I'm excited for you all.
Well, it concluded at 11:30, just before I got here. So we graduated 19 individuals. There's certain now this cohort you talk about customized. They have a plus certification. They have a network support certification, and they have a Google IT something certification. So they're certified in three different areas.
Wow.
Google, I think it's Google Platforms and Infrastructure IT cert that they have, which is a global certification. And then they have two CompTIA certifications, which are global. So they have three global certifications that they walked away with today. And
Wow.
so we already have four of those students who are placed, and I can speak this employer because at Beaumont Hospital already, and so we're going to get the remaining placed within the next couple of days, hopefully. So shameless plug, if anyone is out there and looking for IT talent that may be certified in those three areas, feel free to reach out to me, and you'll get an opportunity to. I'll connect you with the talent so that can happen for them. So it's an exciting time. We actually had a joint graduation today because it was virtual. We, along with our site in Philadelphia, came together and we had the graduation together. So it was really nice. So we had nice. I think we had 87 people who were actually logged in because they invited family and friends and so forth. So it was really, really nice. A great, great time for everyone this morning.
Yeah,
So
I was going
yes,
to ask, what was the energy like in that Zoom room? What was it like?
so they couldn't clap and they couldn't make noise. So we did something that's called fingers. And so when speakers finished speaking, they gave them the fingers. When their names were called for their certifications and so forth, they got the fingers and so forth. And so that was our way of celebrating. Because as you can imagine, and you know with Zoom, 80 people, going on and off mute could kind of be chaotic. But we muted everyone except, of course, those persons speaking. And so it was my first time going through a virtual graduation. So
Yeah,
it went well. It went
yeah,
well. Yeah.
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 And I will imagine that because they have these global certifications and we're in this pandemic, they can really work anywhere,
Yes,
probably.
yes, yes, yeah. Well, we want them to work anywhere, but I want them to stay in Detroit.
Me too.
I
That's
want
what I was going to ask you. How do you keep the balance
them
to get them to be to buy into positions that are here versus positions that are, because if they have a global certification and there's a spot across seas that they can work from home, how do you get that balance to get them to really stay invested here in the city of Detroit?
and that's so it's funny that you asked that because one of the questions that I asked during the interviews of some of the individuals who come in is what's your commitment to the city, what's your commitment to the region. And so I kind of get a sense of where they are, and not that we exclude anyone who wants to relocate or anything like that, but it's just like using that sixth sense that you have to know
Mhm.
that you have someone who's committed to this region and to this area,
Mhm.
and who wants to also be a part of the revitalization of the area because that also is important. And there's some great stories, as you know, that come out of the city of Detroit. There's great talent, there's great learning opportunities, and so forth. So it's just making sure that you have all the supports in place to support people who really are ambitious in that pursuit as well. And so sometimes opportunities out west flat out pay more than opportunities in this region. But again, it's that notion of constantly having the conversations with employers about looking at the fact that you have premier talent right here. And so while we can do all the analysis with cost of living and so forth, there has to be some extra incentives and some extra rewards that you can build into this offer to keep this person, regionally or locally based. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think an important part of that are associations and a talent community that has a social component to it, right? So if they get to know other IT professionals who have stayed in this market and begin to interact and network and socialize with them, it kind of does build some adhesive um, on top of the commitment to our region and our city. So,
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think what's really good about a number of our talent is the fact that they've already begun to see that I'm like on the ground floor in this whole IT Detroit thing. They see that and they recognize that, and so they also recognize the fact that there is upward mobility as a result of that, and so they want to stick and stay, and which is kind of cool. Yeah.
tell us as we're moving toward the hour slightly.
Yes.
Um, talk about more about your passion for this and what drew you into Perscolas. What brought you to Perscolas, and what's some of the most passionate work that you're doing?
So I can talk about what brought me into Perscolas. I think was the fact that I got an opportunity to engage in a relationship between the educational component as well as the workforce component. So I had a chance to use my educational pieces as well as my HR pieces. I worked as an associate superintendent in a school district for two school districts, and I ran the HR and the curriculum departments. And then prior to that, I worked as a principal and I was a teacher, and I taught English, and I taught. I'm a teacher at heart, and so this was an opportunity to bring both those skill sets together to do work that I think is really good work because I'm dealing with employers and dealing with talent and some of those HR pieces with respect to DEI and so forth. And then simultaneously, I get an opportunity to go in and do workshops and prep the learners and so forth. And so it's like a great find because it's a combination of both sides of my thinking and my expertise. So that's what really grew me to Detroit. And because I think fundamentally some of the other IT entities that we have within the city that train individuals is very, very costly. And in fact, two of the larger ones in the area, it's more costly than what you would pay for tuition at some of our premier schools. And so this was
I
an
want to jump
opportunity.
in right there for a second, Dr. Sledge. Why is that? Why do you think that is, that it's so costly? Because it disenfranchises a whole group of people that might not be able to afford it or might not want to be indebted forever.
Yes,
So why do you think that is?
I think it's. Uh, I guess because we're on this platform, I'll be diplomatic, and I think I'll just say I think it's by design, because those persons who can afford to attend and to enroll in those entities look differently, and they have a different set of resources and so forth. And so I think in some respects it's by design, not to minimize the cost that is associated with the training because it's costly when you talk about your overhead and your needs to be able to pull off such a training program if you want it to be cutting edge. But by the same token, one of the things I love about my organization is that we realize costs up front and that we know that we don't launch a cohort unless we know that that cohort is already going to be paid for by our relationships that we have with employers or with some of our champion partners, as well as that philanthropic arm. And so, again, it's all about intent and it's all about design. And as you stated earlier, it's what we really want to make happen and lean into. So that's what really brought me to this space. And I came to Perscolas after leaving the city of Detroit in the workforce and the civil rights. Civil work Creole. I was in Creole department in the city of Detroit, and so I came to Perscolas after leaving Creole. So that whole notion around organizations and agencies that are committed to workforce and so forth, I have some pre-existing relationships with them, and I was able to kind of take a lot of those pieces over to this work as well. So yeah.
Mhm. And can you share with us maybe your most inspiring story or student or situation that really reinforces the value of this work to you?
So there have been many, many significant stories that I can share, but I'll share today's story. We have what's called a Core Values Award, and the Core Values Award is a student who manifests a combination of our core values as well as, in this particular case, the core values of tech systems. And so there are like 9 different areas that we recognize and present the award to. And one of the young lady who received the award was a native Detroiter. And let me back up. It's a peer selected award. So their peers in the cohort vote and they determine, the winner. And so it was a young lady, city of Detroit native, high school, went to an inner city high school, and she got an opportunity to go to Eastern and major in accounting and IT. And just the whole notion of being in Ypsilanti and trying to navigate through that space as well as stay focused on the studies, it resulted in her withdrawing from school. And so, fast forward about 6 or 7 years later, she comes to us, and she's really bright. Life has happened, and she's a single mother, and but she still has kept this thirst and this hunger for IT. And so today she graduated, and she has all of those certifications, and she's a single mother, and it just and her speech, because each of the recipients give a speech, and her speech actually brought individuals to tears because she talked about the fact that the person that's receiving this award is not the same person who walked through the doors. And that just it was like a tearjerker, and everybody's putting up in the chat on the Zoom, oh, I'm crying, oh, please stop, because she did such a phenomenal job. So it's stories like that that you don't get, in nonprofit, as you know, it's not like this gargantuan salary that you receive, but the gargantuan pay comes as a result of you being able to see your impact and the difference that it's making in the lives of others. So that's what's important.
Wonderful. That is a great story and a great success story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Look into the camera, Dr. Sledge, and talk to employers about why they should invest. If I got my own HR speech I could make, but why they should invest in Perscolas and align some of their resources with a program like this that we see has had measured success.
And so, and thank you for that. And I do want you to be able to give your speech as well. The more the merrier. But primarily, it's because you will see an immediate return on your investment. That's number one. Number two is the fact that we are a very rigorous training program. It's not a program where students just show up and they just arrive and they get credit for seat time. But we're very intentional with respect to our curriculum as it relates to the technical component. And we do what most organizations do not do, in that we have an 80-20 hybrid. 80% of that time is spent on tech, and 20% of that time is spent on career development. Career development occurs over the course of 14 weeks. And so we take students through those essential skills or soft skills that they need to be a well-rounded professional. In addition to that, you have individuals who don't just like technology, but you have individuals who have demonstrated their love and their commitment to technology as a result of going through a series of certifications and getting those certifications first time out even. That's another statistic that I did not share earlier, but most of our individuals, the first time they sit for their certifications, they earn them and they achieve them. In addition to that, you have a person who has already demonstrated in a 14 or 16-week design that they'll show up every single day from 9 to 5, and we don't pay them to come. It's a full-time commitment. They step away from their lives for 15 weeks from 9 to 5. They show up and they demonstrate and they perform, and so they will add value to your organization, definitely.
Yes. And from an HR standpoint, because every recruiter's dream is a plan that works,
Yeah.
a plan that will bring the right skills that will be needed today, tomorrow, and in the future.
Mhm.
And so I believe that if we want to make a Midwest Silicon Valley or Wolverine Valley, whatever you want to call it, that employers have to be intentional about the resources
Absolutely.
to engage the talent that is right underneath their noses or right before their eyes without maybe the appropriate lenses. And so I would say to any employer who has workforce planning on your mind, and every employer should, and understanding that our new normal may cause for IT to stand up in a way unlike we've ever seen, you
Mhm.
want to align yourself with organizations that have a talent pipeline that you can count on for success. And you just heard Dr. Sledge say that these students, these adult learners are committed to stepping away from their normal life and entering a new normal for 15 weeks that will change the trajectory of
Uh,
not just their skill set, but of their ability to contribute in a meaningful way within organizations that want to drive business results. And so I would strongly encourage any organization to connect with Dr. J.R. Sledge on LinkedIn or on any of the platforms he's mentioned and become a partner so that we can place great talent within your organization.
Thank you.
Dr. Sledge, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I know that you are a busy man. You had a graduation this morning. I appreciate your time, and I'm just excited about what your program is accomplishing, and much more success to you and the entire Perscolas team.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that. And again, I want to thank you for your time the other day. And I also want to pause and say, full disclosure, I do know Marcus. We went to high school together, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of what you're doing. And it's really, really good work that you're doing as well. And so, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate your time, and I'm proud of you. Yeah,
And one proud brother to another. Yes, we have known each other for a long
yeah,
time.
yes, yes.
Longest relative because we're still young. Still young.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But
I
I am so proud of Dr. Sledge. That's why I always call him Dr. Sledge. I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the work that you're doing and making meaningful impact among student learners. I say student or adult learners, but I say students because I believe we're lifelong students, right?
That's right. That's right.
If we develop a culture that we're supposed to always be learning, we'll always be improving on
That's
who we
right.
are.
That's right. That's right.
I'm excited about that, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
all on all platforms that have joined us. I hope you will share the content widely. If you're business owners, if you're decision makers, remember Perscolas and reach out and align with this organization. It will do a return on investment that you will be grateful for and proud of.
it.
Thank you so much.
You take care. Thanks.